Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's action meeting. I think first off, we're going to start off with a video.
Hello, and welcome to this North Penn News Update. The first day of school was a huge success for the students and staff of the North Penn School District. The sun was shining as the smiles, high fives, and welcome back greetings kicked off the 2018-2019 school year. Congratulations to these 13 North Penn High School seniors who were named as National Merit semifinalists in this year's National Merit Scholarship Program. These students were just 13 of approximately 16,000 named from their PSAT scores taken in their junior year. Also, a big congratulations to North Penn High School for being selected as a National Banner Unified Champion School by Special Olympics. NPHS is just one of 90 schools nationwide to be given this distinction in 2018. The Special Olympics of Pennsylvania will be joining forces with the high school for a schoolwide assembly to celebrate this distinguished honor, including the unveiling of the Unified Champion School's national banner. Congratulations to all involved. Tomorrow is the annual North Penn Homecoming festivities and football game. The crowning of this year's homecoming king and queen will be announced at the halftime of the Knights vs. CB East football game. Tickets to the game can be purchased at the gate. And it will be a different type of homecoming for this year's Knights of Honor inductees in late October. Retired teacher and North Penn Theater Director Cindy Loudon, retired teacher, swim coach, and founder of the North Penn Community Aquatics Program, Rick Carroll, and class of 1994 alum and the former Poet Laureate of Philadelphia, Yolanda Wisher, will be honored on Friday, October 26th at 6 p.m. in the high school auditorium. The event is free to the public. And finally, calling all North Penn and Lansdale Catholic alumni. Be sure to sign up for the annual Thanksgiving Day Classic Flag Football Game. Registration is now open at npenn.org for players, cheerleaders, and the band. Come join in the fun on the new take of the old crosstown rivalry this Thanksgiving Day at Crawford Stadium at 10 a.m. That is all for this North Penn News Update. Check us out 24/7 on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/NPTV. Have a great night.
Welcome to our regularly scheduled action meeting. This meeting is being videotaped for community cable channels. Individuals attending this meeting and intending to speak to the board should be aware that they are being videotaped. In order to meet the requirements of Pennsylvania's Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during the meeting. To assure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board come to the microphone, state their name and address, and sign the Audience of Citizens logbook. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments. To allow time for all those who wish to speak to the board president may ask the individual to yield the microphone to the next speaker. And now, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I have to make an announcement that the board and administration met in executive session this evening from 7:05 to 7:30 to discuss matters of personnel and potential litigation. Okay, now moving on, we're going to have recognitions and proclamations tonight. We are honoring the North Penn International Friendship Committee today. Right. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Canals. How are you doing tonight?
Okay, good. Thank you. I saw on the list here that it said this is one of our favorite parts of the program. I hope it is, because it's one of my favorite, not only because I'm proud of our program, but extremely proud of our young people and how they have shown themselves and being good ambassadors for our country, for our school, for their home, and for themselves. So anytime I have the opportunity to be with these young people, I feel good. So thank you. The North Penn International Friendship Committee administers the International Friendship Program for the North Penn School District. Our program is centered around sending students to our accepted partner schools and bringing students here from those partner schools. Over the last 56 years, we have been sending about a total of 600 students back and forth. So it's a really rich program since 1962. The basis of our program is to select appropriate high school students that not only gain from the rewarding experience, but will serve as excellent ambassadors to promote peace and understanding in the world. And I know that's sky blue, but I think one at a time we do that. This past year, we sent 5 students abroad through a full scholarship given by our committee. And each has not only experienced a life-changing year, but have been excellent representatives of our country and our school. Each of their experiences is unique. However, each one will tell you that they would do it again without reservation. The IFC is proud of the RICH program and proud of the students that have returned this year. Now I will introduce these students. The first is a young lady, Maura Schus. Just want to say that Maura, if I find my notes on her, but she was an amazing young lady to send to France. She went to our partner school in Toulouse, France. She took the French baccalaureate and not only passed it, but which is unusual for any student, and received the highest honor, mentioned très bien. And that is just amazing. And we're so proud of her accomplishment, and it's much more than we have ever expected. So, Maura Schus.
Congratulations, Mom. That's awesome.
The next young lady isn't here tonight. Sophia Broadhurst. She was in Madrid, Spain. She couldn't make it this evening. But again, as I would say for all of these students, she just was an amazing young lady. She's a very, very busy lady. Actually, she's up for the homecoming queen, which I guess I don't know if they voted for that already. Oh, so we don't know who. Oh, no, okay, good, right. Okay, the next young lady was a Latin student here in the high school, but was able to adjust and learn the German language. And this girl has so much energy, and I look forward to seeing her involved in the program, Ashley Hahn. She was in Aalen, Germany. Salzgitter, Germany, I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. The next young lady is Eva Steele. Eva was our first student to our partner school in Bordeaux, France, and she obviously was the best so far. But I can say that she is very, very good. Beyond being the first student, but she has paved the way for future students to go to our sister school in Bordeaux. Her advisor in France, I talked to her the other day, and she was so amazed at her maturity and the wonderful way she presented herself in her country. So I'm very proud of Eva. Thank you. Eva Steele. Now, I don't know how we got Ashley in there before this. It wasn't on the list that way, but okay. The last, but not least, is a young fellow who went to Aalen, Germany, Matthew Cohen. Matthew I thought when we first interviewed him, he was such a shy young man. But when he came back from his experience, this guy is so mature and so outgoing and has done wonders for this young man. I am so proud of Matthew. Thank you. Before I do anything else, I didn't introduce my wife, Bonnie, and she refused to say anything because she said she has a cold and she can hardly speak. But you can be rest assured that our program, she's the backbone of our program. So thank you, Bonnie.
So, as somebody who went to school overseas, I appreciate how difficult it can be sometimes. You know, a year is a long time to be away from family and friends. So it is quite the accomplishment. And it is something you will remember forever, because my trip was a long time ago. And I still remember it very vividly. So congratulations. It is one of my favorite programs, and I am so grateful to Bonnie and Ted Knaus for running it for as many years as you guys have. It's a big undertaking, and but it's a great program for our kids. So thank you for all the work that you guys do.
Thank you very much.
Can you guys come through and
Sure.
shake all the administration and board members' hands? Thank you. Can we have another round of applause for our students? Okay, next up is the audience of citizens guidelines. The guidelines were reviewed in the video, but I'd like to point out that we have a timer that we will have on the screen that you'll be able to see. It is set for 3 minutes, and once it turns to 30 seconds left, it'll turn yellow, and when your time is up, it'll turn red. And if anyone wishing to speak could be mindful of the timer, we'd very much appreciate it. Also, the administration and the board reserves the right to respond to any public comments once all that wish to speak have finished. This time is not intended to be a debate. However, sometimes there is a need to respond to a comment or to clarify an issue. So thank you all in advance for your cooperation. If anyone would like to get up and speak, please feel free to do so.
Hello, my name is Zachary Martin, and I am an 11th grader at North Penn High School. And I, the other day, ran into an issue that I feel needs to be addressed and is important not just for me and not just for every other student in this district, but for all future students in this district. I wore this shirt to school on Monday, which was the Spirit Day. It's like America Monday or something like that. And I walked into school and I was addressed with, I was told to take off the shirt by administration because I was in violation of the dress code, apparently. I that morning reviewed the dress code, and on page 19 of the student handbook, it states that you are not allowed to wear any apparel with anything relating to alcohol, drugs, death, or the occult. I came into school and was told that this shirt is not allowed to be worn because it simply has the word gun on it, and that is not addressed in the handbook. I do not agree with the statement. I do not agree with that ruling with my shirt expressing my opinion toward religion, the Second Amendment to the Constitution, and the current sitting president. I understand that the school district has the right to restrict political speech. However, I believe that this is protected. I have 3 things I'd like to have the board address. The first is I can understand the district not wanting stuff related to firearms in school. However, I have experienced other students having not just the word, but depictions and photographs of firearms on their shirts. I would like the discipline code the dress code reviewed, and if that is the case and you do not want that, then that being written in. The second ask is that these rules be enforced consistently, because I feel that it is not right to enforce a rule for one person in one case, but not enforce it in the second case. And the third ask is I would like a member of the board to make a motion for me to be allowed to wear my shirt in North Penn High School. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Hi, I'm Cameron Jones, and I'm a 4th grader at Walton Farm Elementary School. I'm here to try to make water free in North Penn schools. Because right now, water is not free in any of the North Penn schools. It doesn't come with lunch. And most of the drinks served at lunch have a lot of sugar in them and are very unhealthy. One of the drinks that is included is chocolate milk. This unhealthy variation of milk has 21 grams of sugar. This is only 4 grams less than the daily amount of sugar recommended by the American Heart Association for children. The second most used ingredient in the chocolate milk is liquid sugar. The same exact amounts of sugar are in the strawberry milk. Sun Cup fruit juice is another unhealthy option that is included with school lunch. You might think that this juice has lots of vitamins, but it has no vitamins at all. And additionally, it has 12 grams of sugar in it. Well, water, according to the CDC, water is a healthy alternative to sugar-sweetened drinks. Adequate hydration increases cognitive function in children. And consuming high amounts of added sugars has been linked to an increased risk for obesity, elevated blood pressure, and unhealthy blood lipid levels in children. These are all major risk factors for heart disease. Well, here are some costs and solutions for this. Well, milk and juice is free with lunch. And is water at the elementary school level $1 or 50 cents?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think it's $1. Okay, so water at the elementary school level is $1. So North Penn School District is profiting off children who are making a healthy choice buying water. In addition, children that are getting free school lunch are not allowed to get water bottles with their lunch unless they pay for them. They do not have money to do that, and we do not have a water fountain in our cafeteria. Well, a few weeks ago, I met with Representative Kate Harper on August 21st about getting water included for with lunch for all students. She was surprised water was not a free option and agreed they should have the option for water at lunch. She suggested I should talk to the school board. Okay, Cameron's Canteen. Pro, kids have access to free water. Con, lines were 25 kids deep when first brought to cafeteria, so some limits were put in place. Kids raise hand when they want cup of water. Small cups, so they are raising hand 2 to 3 times throughout once. Disrupted the cafeteria employees and students who have a limited time to eat lunch. Here's some feedback from the children. They're saying that the water is warm and that they do not like it coming from water that is used to wash the dishes. Even though I confirmed with Mrs. Harding the water is tested and it is clean. Solution. Number 1, include water bottles as a free drink option along with current options. Number 2, install a water fountain or water bottle filling station in each cafeteria, especially in cafeterias that do not have a water fountain. For example, LK enhanced bottle filling station and single ADA cooler, filtered 8 GPH stainless, $982.58 plus shipping and installation. There's a display on the water fountain that shows how much water waste is avoided by using refillable water bottles. Energy saving feature allows for the refrigeration to be powered off when not in use. It provides clean fill with minimum splash. Real drain system eliminates standing water. So so I would like water to be free in school for children.
Thank you. Cameron was your name? Cameron, can you leave me your report or can you email it to me? Your report? Can I have a copy? Oh, awesome. Great. We will take it under advisement. Thank you, Cameron.
Did Cameron, did you sign in, buddy?
Oh, wait, no, I did not. Thank you.
He did put his name on the report. So. I like a guy who comes with solutions. It's awesome. Thank you, Cameron.
If that man was 18 years older, I'd recommend him for OCS. Good evening. My name is William Patch. I live at 404 Bonnie Lane in Montgomery Township. It is not Lansdale, but I live in Montgomery Township. The topic I'd like to talk to is full-day kindergarten. I was given some information by the ESC, and I had wanted to know what the statistical information between the AM and the PM kindergarten. I was given a total enrollment of 801, and actually one of the former board members, Frank O'Donnell, said, well, we can't really do, they keep coming in, they said, it'll be at least 30 days before I actually get a decent head count on what's really going on. So that's very important about what's going on. But what I was really interested was the disparity between the AM and the PM. The AM was 445 new entrants, and the PM was 356. So that's quite a large disparity there, and I was wondering why that would be, and if people are given an option or whatever it is, an assignment. And I had spoken about this, that perhaps we had reached the point, since the board is well inclined to make full daycare. I believe that what we need is an orientation center where all children that would come to the district in kindergarten would be enrolled in one central location where they could be observed, and if there are deficiencies, they would be identified, and the corrective action would be able to utilize that, and the space that was freed up in the other elementary schools, which would be very considerable. We would alleviate some of the overcrowding that we have because of the additional space which would be freed up. Like at Inglewood, I mean, we spent $14 million, got absolutely not one more square foot of academic. I mean, it's an awful lot of money for no increase. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about was other issues. Could you please, someone, give me at least three studies that prove FDK is effective? I want who provided them, where they were done, and what the outcome was. I talked to Mr. Casasso. He was very gracious to talk to me at length, and he was illuminating me about, by third grade it's a fade out, and they're all the same. So I think it would be beneficial to identify those children coming into the district in kindergarten to who would be it would be necessary to have remedial work, and in being one space, all these children could be put in one space instead of all these different places with the buses running here and running there. If you were to have one location, the buses would come and the buses would leave, and there wouldn't be any need to have a program to identify this. And the enrollment for the kindergarten at 2013 to present, and the graduation class numbers from 2013 to present. Are we losing students over that period of time? Do we really need full-day kindergarten? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patchell. Mr. Casa?
Thank you, Mr. Patchell. I just want to make sure that I clarify. Always a great conversation. What I meant by what researchers have termed, some have identified a 3-year, what they call a fade out. In our conversation, I was explaining that as some of the cherry-picked data that's used in which people don't look at the longitudinal gains that come from full-day kindergarten. So I just wanted to make sure the record was straight.
But before we have the motion, it would be a good idea for that information, not to vote, to have that information presented to people so that they could make a legitimate decision on just not, hey, it's the political will and we need to do it. It's a lot of money.
Thank you, Mr. Patchell.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Armstrong. I live in Hatfield Borough. I have a second grade girl at Oak Park, and I have a daughter who will start kindergarten this coming fall. And I do wish to address the issue of full-day kindergarten. Mostly, I just want to say thank you for the really thorough work you've done, and it seems like over a number of years, to prepare this information. To be honest, half-day kindergarten was something that had attracted us to North Penn to begin with, and which my older daughter had experienced and really thrived in. But I am, again, so thankful, not just for your thorough work, but that it's on YouTube, and I could watch the full work session multiple times. And you really did address all of our questions and concerns, and I'm surprised but happy to support the notion at this point. We did have one lingering concern that I was just hoping could be addressed, probably not today, but at some point, and that's the issue of Board Policy 5128, which is about homework. When our older daughter was in kindergarten and she had homework several times a day, which again is understandable, but with such more substantial time in the school building now for kindergartners, I just was wondering if we could perhaps revisit that policy with teacher input and parent input as well, just to see if that's still appropriate for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Armstrong.
Hello, everyone. I've met with many of you privately since February over the bullying that had been going on at Walton Farm Elementary School. And then,
Can you announce your names?
sorry. So please circle Hatfield, Donna Kaler. About the bullying that had been going on and the changes that needed to take place. And we had also come to the meeting in June where many of us discussed incidences that had happened with our children. I'm coming today just to thank you for the changes that you have begun to make. Mr. McCusco is amazing, McCusco. There has been some issues, mild issues, but it's been a light in our building. My kids come home from school and they're like, the teachers hug the principal, the teachers hug the kids. There's compassion in our school again that was gone, and I'm not exaggerating when I say gone. All I ask is to make sure you really support him, because with the policies not being properly documented or incidences last year, they're starting, example today, and he took it head on right away. But just if he's coming to you because things weren't properly documented, please support him, because it is impacting our kids, and I would appreciate it. But thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kaler, for the update. Would anyone else like to speak?
I knew you were here somewhere.
Yeah.
Your worst nightmare. Hi, good evening. Susan Leonard, 309 Upper Valley Road, North Wales, Pennsylvania. I'm here to, I guess, in advance, thank you for your vote on full-day kindergarten, because I know it's happening today. I know that it's been a long progress, a lot of work, a lot of hard work from the administration. I'm hoping that the vote is 9-0 tonight. I'm hoping that because our purpose, your purpose, is to educate our children. And data can show lots of things, but data does show that full-day kindergarten is a benefit. And so I'm appreciative for that. I understand that it's scary and it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of work needs to be done. And those are all issues when you take on new challenges. But I have faith that this board will find the money and find the way and do the right thing. So thank you again. Terry, 9-0.
Thank you, Mrs. Leonard. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will move on then to the approval of the minutes. Recommend approval of the minutes from the September 4th, 2018 work session and action meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Recommend approval of the minutes from the August 16th, 2018 action meeting as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Ramich, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on then to committee reports. Personnel. The Personnel Committee of the Board met in executive session on September 4th, 2018, from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. to discuss a matter involving the filing of an administrative vacancy, and again on September 17th, 2018, from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. to receive legal guidance from the district solicitor regarding employee hiring procedures. Moving on to finance. Mr. Diazio, you good?
Yes, thank you. The Finance Committee met on August 27th, 2018. The new business that we discussed at the meeting was as follows. We had a bond financing presentation. Representatives from PFM, the district's financial advisor for bond issue financing, provided an overview of bond financing and a possible structure for future borrowings for building projects. Mr. Scrocky reviewed the 3 proposals received for bond counsel and made a recommendation to use the firm that provided the lowest bid, or not bid for that matter, the lowest proposal, Cagle, Kill, and Almy and Lord. The committee recommended proceeding with a $10 million bank qualified issue for later this calendar year. We also discussed the real estate tax rebate program. Mr. Scrocky gave the committee an update on the rebate program, and will be presenting data regarding possible expansion of that program at a future Finance Committee meeting. We also discussed the 2017-2018 capital reserve. Mr. Scrocky reviewed the background and history regarding the end of fiscal year transfers from the general fund to the capital reserve fund. There are unexpended funds in the 2017-2018 budget that are being recommended for transfer to the capital reserve fund. When the exact amount is known as part of the audit process, a resolution will be presented for the board's consideration. We also discussed the 2019-2020 proposed budget calendar, and we'll have future meetings where we'll be discussing the 2019-2020 budget. And finally, we discussed assessment appeal appraisal contracts. Mr. Scrocky recommended the approval of several firms to work with the district to provide valuation reports for property owner-initiated real estate tax assessment appeals. The items recommended for action meeting today are the bond counsel and bond financing appointment. The capital reserve transfer will occur at the October meeting. The approval of the 2019-2020 budget calendar is on tonight's agenda. And finally, the appraisal contracts with various companies are also on tonight's agenda. The next meeting of the Finance Committee will be on Wednesday, September 26th, 2018 at 6:30. And just to note, that's a change in our regular date. We usually meet on Mondays, but we're meeting on Thursdays this month due to a religious holiday. Thank you.
I think it's a Wednesday.
Correct. We're meeting on a Wednesday. Thank you. Instead of a Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. Safe Schools, Mr. Casa.
The Safe Schools Committee met on August 28, 2018 at 6 p.m. There was an executive session prior to meet with legal counsel so that we could discuss information sharing amongst school administration officials and other stakeholders and following the proper mandates for compliance. Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Durr gave an update on the current security initiatives, which include new security cameras, upgrades to the visitor management system, progress with behavioral threat assessment, critical events response team training, and state-mandated drills. The committee reviewed the proposed selection process for mass notification providers. Mr. Durr provided an update on the Pennsylvania Safe Schools grants, along with the Pennsylvania Senate Bill 1098. The next Safe Schools Committee meeting will be held Tuesday, September 25th at 6 p.m. at the ESC. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Casa. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Casa? Okay, then moving on to Education, Community, and Policy, Mr. Fusco.
Thank you. Education Community Policy Committee met on August 28th at 6:30 in the ESC. Proposed extra duty changes for the 2018-2019 school year were reviewed by the committee. These include adding 2 new positions, removing 8 positions, reducing the group level for 1 position, increasing the group level for another position, and changing the names of 5 activities. In addition, the committee reviewed the information pertaining to the implementation of full-day kindergarten, including facility capacity, curriculum and materials needed, professional development, hiring needs, and timeline and budget. This was moved to the September 4th, 2018 work session meeting. Further updates concerning the cultural proficiency work that is being done in the district were discussed. Planning for the current school year has taken place. Executive committee members will lead subcommittees this year to address specific areas. Dr. Barbara Moore Williams will continue to work with the district in the role of consultant in this endeavor. ECP's next meeting is August 25th, next Tuesday here at the, thank you, September 25th here at the ESC at 6:30. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Fusco. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Fusco? Seeing none, then we will move on to the Support Services, Mr. Casa.
The Support Services Committee met on August 27th, 2018 Mr. Kennedy reviewed change orders for additional engineering services at Hatfield Elementary School, electrical and general construction at Gwinnett Elementary School, and electrical work at Oak Park Elementary School. Mr. Kennedy also reviewed the progress with the design, along with the budget estimates to replace the public address system and classroom phones at North Penn High School. Dave Horn from Architera presented the proposed design for Crawford Stadium, along with the details about variances that would be required from Towamencin Township. The committee also reviewed the long-range facility improvement plan. Projects were identified per school and given preliminary budget estimates. The next Support Services Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 26th, 2018. End of report.
What time?
What's that?
Time is 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Casa. Moving on then to the North Monco Technical Career Center, Ms. Ott.
Bear with me because we've met twice since our last report, so I have 2 reports to give. The first one is from our meeting on August 20th. Ratification of the treasurer's report from June and July was approved. We had some personnel motions that were approved as follows: the resignation of Tracy Bocafori, Jason Maleko, Christopher Polos, and Joshua Seitzer. The approval of retirement of Richard McDermott and Robert Gilmer. Ratified the employment of Eileen Betchel as a health sciences CNA instructor. We ratified the employment of David McCauley as an HVAC instructor. Ratified the employment of Lauren Marco as a part-time cosmetology instructor. Approved the employment of Justin D. Bonaventure as head of security. We ratified the employment of Denise Collins as continuing education capacity coordinator. We approved the employment of Rocco Sexton as a welding instructor. Approved the employment of Frederick Uhas as the CDL instructor. We granted the approval for the administration to employ 3 instructional assistants who will be ratified at the September meeting. 3 student workers were approved. The 2018-2019 teacher mentors were approved. The 2018-2019 substitute list was approved, and Dr. Dawn LeBlanc, principal and assistant director, was appointed as the school safety and security coordinator in accordance with Act 44 security requirements. We also approved some student travel requests. Mr. Lucas, Mrs. Raybold, other staff, TBD, and 50 students are going to be attending the premier Philadelphia Hair Show. The JOC approved the Technical Assistant Program, TAP, Memorandum of Understanding between NMTCC and the Bureau of Career and Technical Education. JOC approved the Memorandum of Understanding between NMTCC and Towamencin Township Police Department. Budget transfers were approved as presented. The following staff travel requests were ratified or approved as presented. Bob Lisavidia attended a meeting at Upper Bucks. Justin Turner will attend the PACTA Fall Workshop for Technology and CTE. Nicole Lucas and Marcianne Rabel will chaperone the students' trip to the Philadelphia Hair Show. Gina Pardovich will attend several programs for PA-inspired leader induction. David Bodzlovich, Michelle Chrissy, Charlie Cole, Bob Lisavidia, Patty Miller, Jay Mitchell, and Malcolm Roach will attend the Conference on Integrated Learning. Justine McLovin will attend the Forward Food Conference. We accepted 1 donation that will be acknowledged. And then here's the next one. We had our next meeting on September 17th, just this past week. The following actions were taken: the ratification of the treasurer's report from August of 2018. We approved additional personnel motions, ratified the employment of Nicole Park as a cosmetology instructional assistant, approved the salary increase for 2 evening school welding instructors, ratified 2 student workers for the 2018-2019 school year, approved 1 intermittent FMLA leave for the 2018-2019 school year, approved the substitute list for the 2018-2019 school year. The following student travel requests were approved: Mr. Lucas, Mr. Long, Mrs. Christie, Mr. Felis, Ms. Boser, Mrs. Taylor, and 28 students will participate in a game show at Fox 29 Studios. Mr. Cole, Mrs. Mitchell, and 25 students will participate in an admissions tour at Del Val. Mrs. Lucas and 15 students will perform community service at Easter Seals. Ms. Christie, Mr. Felice, Mr. Gruber, Ms. McGovern, and Ms. Alban ECS, and 47 students will participate in a team building activity at Expedition Escape. Mr. Markin, Mr. Hanron, and 20 students will practice a search and rescue activity at Stowe Lanes. Mrs. Miller, Mr. Cullen, and 29 students will visit Highland Orchards. Mrs. Courtney and 32 students will tour biotechnology facilities at Worcester UPenn. Mr. Alcaro and 6 students will attend the Greater Philadelphia Automotive Technology Competition. Mrs. Lucas and other staff and 40 students will participate in Skills USA district and state competitions. The JOC approved 2 tuition students for the 2018-2019 school year. And the following staff travel requests were approved as presented. Nicole Lucas will attend Skills USA. Michelle Christie will chaperone the student trip to Fox Studios. Charlie Cole and Jay Mitchell will chaperone the student trip to Del Valle University. Nicole Lucas will chaperone the student trip to the Easter Seals. Michelle Christie will chaperone the team building activity Expedition Escape. Armando Marcon and Pat Hanrahan will chaperone the student trip to Stowe Lanes. Patty Miller will chaperone the student trip to Highland Orchards. Mary Courtney will chaperone the student trip to Worcester UPenn. And Nicole Lucas will be the advisor for the Skills USA State Championships. 1 donation was accepted and will be acknowledged. And board policy number 839 regarding animals on school property was approved. The next JOC meeting will be held on Monday, October 5th at 7 p.m. And I just want to make a quick announcement to remind everyone that during the school year, both the bakery and the restaurant, as well as the salon, are open to the public. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out and see what those students are doing, please do. End of report.
Thank you, Mrs. Ott. I think Mr. Diazio forgot his Chromebook, so he wouldn't have to read all that. And I think you said the meeting was on October 5th. It's the 15th. So, okay. So, all right. You can fess up, Ed. I know you did that on purpose. All right, Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Ramage.
My report is far shorter. The MCIU board met on August 22nd. The board met to receive updates from MCIU staff in the areas of program implementation and legislative advocacy. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 26th, which is a very popular night for meetings. End of report.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramage. And poor Ms. Ott, you're on again.
This one's much
North
shorter.
Penn Ed Foundation.
The Foundation Board of Trustees met last on September 5th. The trustees reviewed the very successful North Penn Community Build-A-Bag Backpack and School Supply Drive, which it initiated for the first time this year. Close to 400 bags were collected and filled with donations of school items for needy students in all of our schools. Other foundation activities discussed were the Rita's Icebreaker held for the new teachers and the golf outing that had to be postponed because of weather. Originally scheduled for August 13th, the annual golf outing will now be held on October 1st. If you haven't registered yet, I highly encourage you to do so. The great news is that there's still room in the golf outing if you'd like to do so. Also discussed at the meeting was the NPSD staff payroll deduction drive that we will hold for the first time ever in October, and the upcoming Knights of Honor ceremony on October 26th, when Cindy Loudon, Rick Carroll, and Yolanda Wisher will be honored. With the school year up and running, we're busy helping our teachers implement their grants and look forward to receiving additional requests in the fall. Our next meeting is Wednesday, October 3rd at 7:45 a.m. here in the ESC.
Thank you, Ms. Ott. Okay, moving on then to the superintendent's report. Dr. Dietrich.
Thank you. I recommend approval of the contracts for the district as listed for the September 20th, 2018 meeting, copies of which are on file in the Office of Business Administration.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the student travel requests as listed.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motioned by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Ms. G. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of alternative placements as per those that are listed, and copies are on file in the Office of Special Education.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Burkowski, seconded by Mr. McBain. Any comments or questions?
One. Years ago, we used to get the dollar amount, the cost to the district on the alternative placements. Can we get that again? Or is that not appropriate?
Yes.
Just aggregate by location. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I recommend the approval of the settlement agreement that is listed, and copies are on file in the Office of Special Education.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motioned by Mrs. Prokowski, seconded by Mr. Casa. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the personnel items as per the attached.
So moved.
Second.
Motioned by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mrs. Ott. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
With that motion and approval, we did approve then North Penn High School Assistant Principal Matthew Edwards. Mr. Edwards is present in the audience. If you just give a kind of wave there. And we'll have Mr. Edwards available afterwards. The next item is in regard to the general obligation bonds, series of 2018. And I recommend that the Board of School Directors of North Penn authorize the administration to work with the PFM Financial Advisors LLC as independent financial advisor, Cagle, Kellen, Almy, and Lord LLP as bond counsel, Sweet Stevens, Katz, and Williams LLP as the school district solicitor to proceed with the issuance of general obligation bonds, series of 2018, in the approximate amount of $10 million via competitive internet auction, proceeds of which will be used toward the funding of various capital projects of the school district, including one at Knapp Elementary School.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Motioned by Mrs. Ramich, seconded by Mr. Casa. Any comments or questions?
Can we afford it with full-day kindergarten?
Yes.
This issue,
No.
Might have to have, somebody might have to turn off. There's a max on how many you can have. Go ahead. Go ahead, Steve, you can go on there.
There we go. This $10 million issue, depending on how it's structured, it could be a wrap structure where it's placed at the end of our existing debt. So the answer to your question is yes, for this $10 million issue.
Small issue.
Small issue, yes.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of future North Penn School District residents tuition-free 40 school days maximum for the students as listed.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Motioned by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions?
Just to confirm, these are in accordance with our board policy, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of change order EC2 to Electrotech, GC1 to LJ Palella for the Gwinnor HVAC project. Furthermore, approve change order EC2 to Electrotech for the Oak Park HVAC project, and approve a change order to CMC Engineering for additional services for the Hatfield Elementary School project.
So moved.
Motioned by Mrs. Prokowski, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Do we have any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval to approve the advertising for bids to replace the public address system and the classroom phones at North Penn High School.
So moved.
Second.
Motioned by Ms. Ott, seconded by Mrs. Ramich. Any comments or questions?
Just want to make sure that the public recognizes this is part of the continuing improvements and safety upgrades at the high school.
Thank you, Mr. Casa. Are there any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the 2019-2020 budget calendar as per the attached.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motioned by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mrs. Prokowski. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of Indian Valley Appraisal Company, Markaval Real Estate Advisors, and Valbridge Property Advisors to conduct, when necessary, an initial review of property owner-initiated real estate tax assessment appeal appraisals as per the attached proposals.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Ott, seconded by Mrs. Prokowski. Any comments or questions? Seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of full-day kindergarten for implementation in the 2019-2020 school year for all students.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fusco, seconded by Mrs. G. Any comments or questions?
Just a few. My vote tonight will not be in favor of full-day kindergarten. The reason is not that I don't think the children would benefit by it. I think they would. I think the parents would benefit by it financially. I also think that the seniors in the community will be hurt by it, and a lot of the local kindergarten providers that we have today will, I think, to me, it's coming down too fast for them. This from a dream in Susan's eye to this right now, the actual positive thrust for it is, to me, is a lot faster than I think, because all these other businesses need to rearrange their business models, get other funding, get, whatever. Their people will be out of jobs unless they happen to get hired by us. There's just a lot of impact, and I don't think we've looked at it. And that doesn't count the impact that small $10 million will do, but the next $125 million or whatever to get the high school up. And we definitely need both of them, NAP and the high school. We want full-day kindergarten. We need the high school and NAP renovations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Burkowski. Is there any other comments or questions?
I have something I'd like to say.
Go ahead.
Just this being kind of a momentous moment in North Penn, this is a landmark moment. We are about to provide high-quality full-day kindergarten programs to all our students across the district. We're going to foster and strengthen student social and emotional development. We're going to provide consistency for these children who some go to full-day programs outside, some come to half-day programs and then go to another half-day program. Some are at home all day, some are with grandparents, some are in front of screens. We're going to better prepare them for the academic rigors associated with the kindergarten standards. We're going to allow them to develop relationships and integrate as part of a larger learning community at an earlier age. We're going to narrow the achievement gap for children. Education is the greatest equalizer in society, but it's not just a benefit for those with the greatest needs. Every child in North Penn is going to have an opportunity to strengthen their academic, social, and emotional skills, even those who come to us most prepared. We can't rest on the assumption that they don't need extra as well. A full-day program is going to benefit them in addition to those who need it the most. And this isn't just good for the students either, this is good for the community. By offering a full-day kindergarten program, North Penn is catching up with surrounding districts. Abington, Cheltenham, Jenkintown, Lower Moreland, Upper Dublin, Upper Moreland, Haverhill, Horsham, and Wissahickon, to name a few. And that's just in Montgomery County, let alone the trend in the state and in the country. This is going to help us grow and sustain a tax base by attracting young families, to continue to attract young families to our community. And those families, they'll support our local businesses. Property values can remain high. So what we're voting to do here today is, as I see it, long-term strategic planning for the district. It's going to pay dividends down the road. It's an investment in our most precious resource, our children. And I will be a proud yes vote on that investment tonight.
Can we afford to keep up with the Joneses?
We are.
I mean, with all these other school districts that have it.
When you look at the comparison between the tax burden on our residents and the tax burden on the residents in those communities, we have a lot of room. We have a lot of ability to afford this, yes, we do. And it is an investment. It's not just a short-term, year-to-year.
I know it's going to be a long-term investment.
Right, and it's going to keep this community competitive in terms of trying to bring people into it.
I know I'm alone in this, and I think there are educational benefits for the children. I'm not against the educational benefits, but the timing and everything else is not warranted at this point.
Well, I understand your concerns. I would point out, though, that we were elected to.
Oh, I know.
We were
You
elected.
told them you would give it
No,
to
we were, no, I was going to say, we were elected to manage the interests of this district, not outside providers. They have seen that other communities around us have done this. This conversation has been in the community for 3 years. Dr. Santoro, Dr. Holden, Dr. Rufo have done extensive research into this and have made many presentations, and the prudent thing for people to do would be to prepare for the possibility that this day was coming.
Agree. And the outside services are part of our community.
I agree.
They're residents, they're employers in our community. It's not just the students in our community that we're responsible for. We're responsible for the community and the health and benefit of the community.
Would anyone else like to make a comment?
Yes. And thank you, Mr. Fusco, for your comments, and Ms. Prokowski, I respect your comments as well. This has been a long time coming. I think it's important to highlight that not only is North Penn catching up, this isn't about keeping up with the Joneses, this is practicing what we preach. If we want the highest quality education in the 21st century for our students, we have to deliver it. Currently, the state requirements are a full day of kindergarten. We jam that into a half day. It's not going to get any easier as we go forward. I also think it's very important. We've had many constituents that have reached out with their concerns for and against. I want to set the record straight. We're looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Skraki, 1.5 to 2% total of our annual operating budget for full day kindergarten. That is a very small amount compared to what we expect, the possible $100 million plus at North Penn High School, or some families of which have asked questions about air conditioning at the middle schools, which could run upwards of $25 million. So we can afford full-day kindergarten now. This is an investment for the long run. And lastly, I'd like to build upon Mr. Fusco's comments. This directly impacts the reasons that I feel I was elected, and that's to deal with safety and culture and climate issues in our schools. This is like balancing a checkbook. We don't get it right at the beginning, when, it's only going to continue to create a bigger difference in the end. This is an investment to directly impact the lives of all of our students and to increase the safety, well-being, and most importantly, a vibrant education for the students of our community, no matter what type of background they come from or what type of kindergarten that they get. We want to make sure they're all equal and have full-day kindergarten.
Thank you, Mr. Casa.
Yeah, I just want to say, I agree. I feel that I will be supporting full-day kindergarten tonight. I feel that this is something that we do need, that is going to set our district up for success, as Mr. Fusco said, long-term planning. But I also want to encourage this board and this administration to work together to really consider these financial ramifications and what we can do to try and prevent some of the scenarios that we've been concerned with that Mr. Skraki has presented to us in this. So I hope that this board can, while we are committing to do this for our community, we can also commit to making sure that we do this in a responsible financial way. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas, did you want to say something? I know. Mr. Diazio, did you want to say something?
Sure. Well, I want to start by thanking Dr. Santoro, Dr. Rufo, Dr. Dietrich, and Dr. Holben, who's no longer with us, but who carried the ball in this project for so many years. This isn't an easy issue because it's a costly endeavor, and we all certainly know that. But what's informing my vote tonight is that our number one job as a board is to safeguard public education in this community. And so we have to figure out how to do that, and along with figuring out what's best for public education in our community, we have to figure out the best way to pay for that. And so I see what we're doing tonight as the first of two steps. We're moving forward tonight with committing to full-day kindergarten because we've heard from Dr. Santoro, Dr. Rufo, Dr. Dietrich about the need for it. We've heard about this, how the state standards have changed. We've heard about how our kids are coming in at a different maturity level than they did years ago. We see home life changing. We see so many things changing in our community, and we have to keep pace with that. So by voting forward full-day kindergarten today, we are making that commitment to public education. The next piece of this is to figure out how we make sure we pay for it in a cost-effective way and a responsible way, so that we don't see our fund balance, which we've worked so hard to build and maintain, disappear. And so, we'll be having conversations in the coming months about how to pay for it, because those challenges are real. But I think we have to keep in mind what our number one job is, and we can't shy away from that role just because of cost. We have to figure out how to tackle those challenges and make the finances work. Thank you.
My vote will be yes tonight. I fully support full-day kindergarten. I'm excited about this step for our district. I want to thank, and on a positive note, Dr. Rufo, Dr. Santoro, who've been working for years. This is not a sudden decision, and the administration has been working for years to plan for full-day kindergarten, and I think that's what enabled us to be able to really make this decision in somewhat of an expeditious manner on our end, but something that's been planned for years. We certainly would invite those moving forward to come out to our ECP meetings, because that is where we'll continue to plan and talk and discuss how the implementation will roll out. We'll be looking at curriculum, we'll be looking at hiring, social-emotional learning. We will be looking at all of the facets, budgeting and facilities and all of those. While it has been planned for, we will be looking at it, talking about it in the upcoming months. And so certainly we ask that the community, if you want to be part of this conversation, please come out and join us. I believe our next meeting is 6:30. We said this earlier, 6:30 on Wednesday? Tuesday. So the conversation, I'm sure, will begin then. And again, thank you to the administration for your planning.
Thank you, Mrs. G. Are there any other comments?
Sorry to continue the process. I would like to thank the staff as well, and I think what's most important for us moving forward is that we take this step as a community. For those people that will have students in kindergarten next year and moving forward, this will be a test of our ability to make great change. And it's something that is overdue, and it's something that we need to do together. So please make sure, parents, that you're communicating with your teachers. Please make sure that you're communicating with your school leaders. And if we are all aware of our needs moving forward, we will get this done in a proper way that's ultimately better for our students.
Thank you, Mr. McBain. Are there any other comments?
It seems almost as if we're making comments and doing this as a roll call vote. But I just also want to vote I'm very excited to be part of this process and being able to vote for this, and being able to see this in the community, just because of the feedback that we've received from parents. And I think as a parent myself, I wish that this could have been in place for my own children. So I'm glad to be able to look forward to those new families that are coming into our district, or who are going to be enrolling their students, to then be able to have this on offer. I also want to thank all the parents who are here tonight, and for all of the support and information and input that you've provided to this. I think this is a very good night for babysitters in our district. So thank you for your input, and throughout this process, it's been incredibly helpful. And also just thanks to the administration and all those who've worked over the course of the years. It's been so fascinating to learn about the impact. But I really want to take just a moment to thank a teacher who taught at the extended kindergarten program at Knapp. Her name is Mrs. Hertkorn, and she was talking about the extended program that they were able to offer to students within the district, and her commitment and passion to those kids, and being so excited at the end of the year with the data and the outcomes that she was able to show in their growth and progress. And I look forward to seeing teachers being excited about the data and the outcomes and the change that they've been able to see in those kids, just like she was.
Speaking of teachers, I would like to acknowledge the teachers that are here. If you would stand up, just because I know some of our kindergarten teachers are here.
Thank you. Okay, so I think everybody's commented. Mrs. Burkowski, one more.
Can we have a roll call vote?
Yes,
Thank you.
I think that would be appropriate. Mr. Scrocky, can you start the roll call? What?
Mr. McBain?
Yep.
Aye.
Mrs. Ramich?
Aye.
Mrs. Prokowski?
Nay.
Ms. Ott? Mr. Casa?
Aye.
Mrs. G?
Aye.
Mr. Fusco?
Aye.
Mr. Diazio? Aye. And Mrs. Stoll.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-1.
Thank you.
Very good.
My grandchildren will be in that class. They're mad at me.
Okay. Moving on then to the treasurer's report. Mr. Scrocky.
Thank you, Madam President. A couple quick updates before I deliver the treasurer's report. First off, last week, PD certified the Act 1 index for the 2019-20 year. It is in fact 2.30%, which was projected, so that will take effect. For North Penn, that would mean an additional $4 million in tax revenue next year if the 2.3% tax increase was levied. Second item, tax rebate program update. I want to let the board know that we've received 212 applicants now to date on the property tax rebate program that the district implemented this past year. $16,810 in rebates have been issued at this point, and the average number of days from receipt of the application to payment of the check has been 17 calendar days so far. And my final update deals with the realty transfer tax. We had quite a large sale of one particular property in August I want to bring to your attention. We had one property that sold for $76.7 million in August, and that generated $384,000 in realty transfer tax for North Penn School District. So that's phenomenal. We collected over $711,000 in realty transfer tax for the month of August, which is an all-time record, driven primarily by this one particular property located off of Church Road in Lansdale. So that was certainly welcome news. You don't get many sales of $76.7 million. So for the month of August, cash receipts totaled a whopping $139.1 million for the month of August. And that actually is 54% of our budgeted revenue occurred in one single month. So August is the end of the discount period, so the majority of our property owners do pay their real estate taxes to take advantage of the 2% discount. Disbursements for the month of August totaled $17.2 million, and our total available funds at the end of August totaled $191,823,572.47. And that's an increase of about $19 million over last year at the same time. So I recommend approval of the treasurer's report for the month of August 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Motioned by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Ms. Ott. Any comments or questions for Mr. Scrocky? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the ratification of disbursements for the month of August. We're recommending ratifications for the month of August totaling $23,199,972.97.
So moved.
Motioned by Mrs. Prokowski, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, we do have the monthly financial reports listed in board docs. We'll also be reviewing some of those at the Finance Committee meeting next Wednesday. So I'd be happy to address any questions about the monthly financial reports.
Anyone have any questions?
And I will provide a summary of those reports too for the Finance Committee in board docs as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on then to the PSBA election of officers. Approval of the following candidates. I'm not reading all that.
Jenna will.
Yeah, these people are unopposed, so the president-elect will be Eric Wolfgang. The vice president is Art Levinowitz. And the Eastern at-large is Mara Bury from Upper Merion. Okay, I think that's it. And recommend approval, this is for the PSBA Delegate Assembly. Mr. Scrocky, you?
Well, one moment, you didn't have any, there was no action taken on approving the election of those officers. I understand that they are unopposed.
Oh, I have to motion and, okay.
Correct.
All right, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mrs. Prokowski.
Madam President, I
Yeah.
think there's also a few other ones besides the three that you mentioned. We have President-elect, you mentioned that, Vice President, the Eastern at-large, but we also have sectional advisors. We have
Oh, okay, good.
individual
Stanley.
running unopposed for that also. That's Amy Goldman from Radnor Township, Delaware County. And there's also three seats and three members for the PSBA Insurance Trust. I believe they're also asking for a vote on those as well. So
Okay.
everything is unopposed.
Okay. Thank you. All right,
Do we
so.
change the motion?
What's that?
Do we change the motion?
I think the motion is is based on the agenda item of approving the following slate of candidates, and all the ones that Mr. Scrocky listed are included within the attachment to that item.
All right, so the motion's on the table, right? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next one is to recommend the approval of Timothy McBain to serve as the North Penn School District voting delegate at the PSBA Delegate Assembly to be held on October 19th, 2018.
So moved.
Motioned by Mr. Diazio, seconded by Mr. Fusco. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I think we'll be in good hands with Mr. McBain, and I would just like to comment with the election of the officers for PSBA. I've had the opportunity professionally to work with Dr. Levinowitz from Upper Dublin and Mrs. Goldman from Radnor Township School District, and we are in great hands with both of them. They are both very fierce advocates for public education, and will do great things in PSBA. So I'm happy to support both of them tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. Okay, we will have our second round of audience of citizens. Same rules apply.
Good evening. My name is William Patchell. I live at 404 Bonnie Lane, Lansdale, Pennsylvania. Okay, in closing, I know every one of you people, when you fill your income tax out next April, every one of you people is going to owe money. Most of you people in the audience will have to start filing quarterlies because you'll have to have more money taken out of your paycheck. And the progression that you're following right now is to dig a deeper and deeper hole. And I guarantee you, in 5 years, you will completely exhaust your state and local deduction. 10,000. I don't think the public is going to be real happy about not being able to deduct their any other taxes on their federal income tax. And I can hear those moaning and crying at the wall. We don't like this. And I tell you what brought you in as collective group will provide your exit. And when the tide goes out, the people will be glad that they are done with you. You can dig your own hole. You can say your own performance. But I'll tell you what, when the people on April 15th do their tax, wow, this is pretty serious. And I have my own nuclear option. I intend to move to Florida. I will not sell my house. I will leave it empty. Isn't it fortunate to have a house that's all paid for? It's really nice. And you know what? Who's going to move in here? No one's going to move in. You know what a $500,000 townhouse does? You know how much it costs? It costs you about $10,000 a year to maintain that because you got a homeowners association and everything. No young family's going to move in. The greatest birth control ever thought up was a $500,000 townhouse because they don't have any kids. All you're going to get, you'll attract academic seagulls that just come in for all the bread that you can bring to the bulkhead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patchell. Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment tonight? Okay, then, oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Danielle Milliron-Svenik, and I live at 1910 Supley Road in Lansdale. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, having never attended a school board meeting before. In general, I'm in favor of full-day kindergarten, as I can see the educational value of extending the school day, considering the Pennsylvania core standards. My concern is the feeling of rushing to implement it by next school year. I understand it has been under consideration and studied for the past few years, but the announcement to implement by the 2019-2020 school year seems expedited. I mean, I believe even you used the word expeditious in your discussion. So, I just ask the board to consider delaying implementation until the following school year, just to give adequate time to figure out all of the issues, some that were brought up by Ms. Perkowski, financial, staffing, the other schools, NAP, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the other elementary school that doesn't have space right now. I know redistricting has been brought up. That's a little scary as well. I don't want to use the word gerrymandering, but that's, a little scary right there. So I just want you guys to consider just the timeline of implementation. My son will be affected by next fall, which is why I'm here. Again, I'm in favor of full-day kindergarten. I just don't want the tester year to go badly for these kids, just because it does seem like a lot to figure out in less than a year, to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Stoll, I just wanted to invite you out again to ECP, just so that you can see the preparation that has been happening for the past 3 years, and all of our parents. And I certainly apologize if expeditious was not meant in that light, in that we are rushing, because we are not rushing. I'm an educator myself. I've seen full-day kindergarten rolled out in neighboring communities that have, we have more research, I think, even behind it. Really, our administration has done an excellent job getting us to this point. So I invite you out to see that at ECP. That's where you will see it. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. G. Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment? Okay. Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming out tonight.